a good job. And when you see that happen, don't hesitate to say, that was great that you did. So this helps them to understand we're here to support you, to build you up, not here to criticize per se or to tear you down. And always thank the parents for whatever they offer, whatever support they offer. Always thank them. Partnering builds strong teams. When we start to partner with our parents, the family members will begin to show concern about their children. I think the more we have opportunities where we can engage the parents in being an active part of their child's education, they will begin to show more concern. It won't be, they won't be so standoffish. And they'll become equal partners in their child's education. So when you send the flashcards home and they need to be reviewed, they won't just go on the kitchen table until the next morning. They'll actually go over and to help the child with things they need to score better in school. As it should be, and it's not most of the time, parents are first and best teachers. That was one of our core messages when I worked with family literacy. Education begins at home, but many people don't know that. Many people don't understand that concept. When we're partnering with our parents, we have an opportunity to communicate this to the parent that you are the primary educator for this child, the primary and the first. So then they can take a more active role, hopefully, in the child's education. Partnering also builds caring communities. As professionals, we all come from various backgrounds. So there are going to be things that you don't understand about the student doesn't necessarily understand about you. But with our partnering, we're able to see more cultural differences. With the students, we're able to understand a little bit more about their background, the thinking when you're able to speak with the parents. So then you're able to kind of deal with the children on a more individual basis versus as a whole. Partnering also with professionals may be new to the parent, but they become a part of the network that promotes success for the student, so they understand that they're in an active role in helping the child with the child's education. Keep things simple. Whenever you're talking with a parent, you don't want to use a whole lot of educational jargon and things that they don't understand. You want to keep it as simple as possible because you don't want to make anybody feel bad. We talked about previously reasons that parents avoid parental involvement. They don't want to be made to feel less than what they already are. So we want to keep it simple and direct if at all possible. We're definitely going to have parent conferences. Like I said, we do have the luxury as special education teachers to engage in IEP meetings. Everybody doesn't always have this luxury, but if you do have parent conferences, you always want to focus on the positive. You want to start off with the positive. You don't want to come into the meeting and start saying little Johnny tore up all the paper and dumped all the crayons out of the box. He does it every single day. You want to focus on the positive things. Any little thing you can find about the student that's positive, you want to share that with them. And you have to understand that our goal is to forge an alliance with the parents. We want to build this partnership. We want to build this team. Of course, we want to, as I mentioned before, we want to appreciate the parent for whatever position, whatever role they're playing in the child's education as becoming a team with us. Like I said, no unfamiliar terms. You don't want to use jargon, things that will make them feel less. You want to make them feel a part of the team. Practice your very best manners. Be conscious of your nonverbal communication. If you are making gestures with your hands that may be rude, or your body language, the way you're sitting, the way you're looking, you want to make sure you're not too assertive with the parents. You want to take all those things into consideration when you're doing parent conferences. Sometimes this is hard to do, but we also want to make sure that we avoid these things. We want to avoid discussing family problems. Sometimes when you get into meetings with parents, they'll start telling you everything that's happened in the last year, the last 6 months. And I know people need to vent, but we want to avoid discussing family problems if at all possible. Most schools now, probably except for kindergarten, most classes are not, most of the teachers are subject specific. I can't even think of the word I'm trying to.
No, that's awesome, but we get it. Departmentalized?
Right,
I don't know.
right. Most of you have, even in first grade on up, you'll have the math and science teachers, you'll have the ELA and social studies. Children switch classes. So most students are going to have more than one teacher. And you don't ever want to get into, well, I'm doing it this way, but Miss Pam is doing it that way. You don't ever want to discuss what's going on between, with another teacher's treatment of a child. Sometimes we run across, especially in small communities, we run across siblings. You don't ever want to compare siblings. You may do it mentally, but don't do it verbally. Because, you'll say, well, Sarah did it this way and she's just totally different from Becky. But you don't ever want to compare with parents. If a parent seems upset about something, or even if it's something that you said that kind of, sent the conference into a different direction, you don't ever want to get into a debate with them, especially when the parent appears to be defensive. You want to avoid that. And you don't want to attempt to appear that you're psychoanalyzing the student. Well, I think this is the problem. I think that's the problem. And sometimes we do that because we are problem solvers. We want to get to the root of the problem. And I think that's just human nature. And especially educators, you see so many different personalities, so many different children that we do tend to do that. We just don't want to verbalize it. Be objective and not subjective. And I'm sorry, I'm having to work my PowerPoint. All right, important points to remember. And I'm going to read these for you. I know you can read yourself, but I'm going to read and share these. Always keep your cool. The student and his or her needs come first. That's the most important thing. Ask the parent for suggestions. Remember the value of the R. And what was the R? Relationships. Return calls and emails promptly. You don't want to respond to somebody a week later and they told you that, they think that Bobby is bullying Steve in the classroom, and then you respond a week later as if you're not even concerned. Use caution in responding to negative emails. Don't talk to parents when you are upset. We're all human. We all have emotions. Document any interactions with students or parents. Seek help from school professionals to help with the problem. Somebody else, it may be a more seasoned teacher that can guide you and let you know what you should do versus what you are thinking you should do. Notify administrator immediately if there's a tense situation, and then refuse to be intimidated or to accept verbal abuse. Never lose sight of the fact that you and the parent are working together. We are a team. Remember the power of the R. So remember, if you remember working as a team, then you'll look at it and you'll treat it as a partnership. You won't treat it as a dictatorship. I'm the one giving the instructions. This is what you do. This is how you do it. We're going to be partners. And lastly, I'd like to leave this quote from Henry Ford. Coming together is a beginning. Keeping together is progress. And working together is success. Thank you for your attention.